I grew up in church since the day I was born. This church was a very legalistic church who believed in rules all the way down to how to dress. I accepted Christ as a young 5-year-old after church one day. After a while, our family moved away from that church when my parents went through a divorce. I found a youth group that I really liked during this time, and it was my support group. It wasn't until I was 13 that I really learned what it meant to live with Christ, and that's when I was baptized. After being baptized, I entered high school and made friends with the wrong group. With all the family problems at home, I looked towards my friends for advice and thought it was good at the time. I started living my life for myself and got involved with drugs and alcohol at a young age. I gave up on sports and continued to do what I wanted to do. When I turned 18, I dropped out of high school to become an electrician. At a young age, I was handed a job with a lot of money and decided to buy a new truck and move out of my parents' house. I continued to live a very dark life, and this continued for almost 3 years. Right before I turned 21, I had my license suspended, and I was caught driving while I was not supposed to be, and I was arrested and my truck was impounded. This should have been a wake-up call, but I still continued to live my life and lost my job. Looking back, I see all the signs God giving me all this, and me not thanking Him or living at all for Him. After losing my job, I also had my truck repoed, lost my girlfriend, and all of my friends. At this point, night after night, I found myself crying to sleep and praying to God. A couple weeks later, I had turned 21 and hit another wall. I found myself at the bar almost every night until one day I talked with my mom and decided to move to Puyallup. I talked with my friends about this decision and thought they would be happy for me, but the response I got was, "Are you really moving to change your life? What's wrong with us and the way we live?" I informed them that this is not what God put us on the earth to do, and I wanted to live for Him now. I may not be perfect, and I will sin again, but I know that when I fail, He is always there for me. I moved here almost 3 years ago. Since then, I have become closer to God than I have ever been, and I find myself wanting to do more and more for Him. I used to be the guy who would run when things got tough and would only do something if I heard a voice from God, which I know God was not going to get on a mic and tell me to do something. So that was my excuse for the life I lived. No, this is not a good excuse, and with the move to Puyallup, I knew that this is something God had called me to do. Growing up, one of my biggest struggles was reading Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and future. I read this thinking, okay, I've got God on my side, nothing will ever go wrong, and I'll be never harmed again. Well, that is so very wrong, and that was tough because my thoughts were, well, I read it in the Bible, so it must be true. Now I've grown my faith and understand more of what it meant, and it's God saying He has plans for us and He knows what they are, and all He wants for us is to have faith in Him and pursue Him, and we will find them. This goes for a lot of what is said in the Bible, and what people read it for is face value. But if you read and research more into what you are reading, you will realize what's being said. You will also grow more in wisdom with this. After all of this, I am now a youth leader for Thrive. With this move, God has blessed me with a new car, a job where I'm able to tithe and be a light of Him in all I do in my daily life. My name is Matt Foster, and I'm living a better story.